Oops. Oh, no, that's not what I want. Hi, Katia. I hope you're doing well this evening. You see, I had Inkscape up, just playing with it, but realized that I hadn't brought up exactly what I wanted, so actually maybe I'll flip it back to my screen for now, and you can kind of see what I'm doing while we're chatting. Oh, it is 6:30 already, but I may ask tonight and see if people would want to change it. Oh, hi, Mary. Oh, good. So we're getting here. I'm just playing with my screen. You can see my Inkscape screen, can't you? Oh, and I know what I was in the middle of doing before that. Oh, I know what I did. I did it. So I'm going to write down what I want to make sure and do when we start. So I hope you're having a good evening too, Mary. I guess I don't remember where you live, so I don't know if it's what time of day it is for you. For me, it's early evening. It's only 6:30 here, so. Hi, Janelle. Aha. Just checking to see how things are working before I actually start. 8:30 there, okay. Oh, you're in central Nebraska, central time, all right. So we've got what? Eastern, Central, and I'm in Mountain time. I have arrows going all different ways now. You see what? Oh, they're all on the same little leg there. So that'll be what I'll be playing with tonight. I have to show you. I'll put this back up. This is basically what I did after class last week. Oh, you were had some work you were concentrating on? My little heart, I don't know about you guys, but I have these hearts on the right side, or I can click them and get other all the little icons, happy face and all. And it always covers a part of the last post that was made in the class. I can never read the last word in the first sentence. But this is what I did after class last week, and the next morning I was just playing with things, and I don't think this center motive is anything that really could be counted, but I thought it was fun the way it was looking. No, and you certainly were not missing the class, because we haven't quite started. We will in just a moment. Did any of you have any time to play around in Inkscape? Are you hearing me? Okay, I think you are. So I guess we're ready to start class. Not this week. Yeah, you are hearing me. Great. And not this week. Wonderful. Whoops, I didn't mean to put that up. That's not even the screen I need here. Get that out of the way. You see me looking at myself here. Okay, so now I can see the chat box, and I've got this. And you can really, I'm going to just scroll in farther, or zoom in farther. You can see this is where I started. And then this little guy is one of the things we'll be making today. And I made, like for onion rings here. And this is what we'll be using the offset for. Send it your way? I bet you don't have any extra time at all anymore planning for the needle tatting class. And then this was just, I was playing around with the a line on a path, or the tiled clones. And I think maybe, I don't know if one of these is, nope. Maybe it's this one. Whoops. Well, why am I not getting any of those? Oh well, I guess I'm too far out. So you can see I didn't do a whole lot of playing, but this I thought was fun. But I thought one of the things, I'm going to point this out to start with, is that we really have to think about if you're going to use block tatting, is where you're coming out of. And are you going to make your, let's zoom in farther here. I'd have to come out of this outer ring. I'd have to do a split ring for the outer one and then go in to the block, back and forth and back and forth. But where am I going to end? On which side? Am I going to end on the same edge as I started out? That wouldn't really work at all for this. So then I thought, well, I'd have to end up here on this end. And then what do I do? Okay, well, I can do something like this. And the whole thing, I don't think, makes a very pretty design. I'd probably have to have some, well, if I just attached small picots here, it would probably hold it. And then figure out how I want to go with the next round. But it's fun just to play around with the designs. So, what I'm going to show you this week is how I finally ended up doing the, well, I think this was another little, oh yeah, you saw that, and I started pulling out things. See if I could figure out which was my, somewhere I have a, maybe I think I just made duplicates and not clones, maybe. That's why it's not changing. So I'm going to go over here and just use my grid and show you how I finally decided is the easiest way to make the block tatting. And what I'm going to do is pull in an element, actually a photo of my one from this morning. Now I could go to File, Import, like I've done before, and then go find my file. But I also am almost 99% positive that I have this folder up here, my diagramming class folder, and I believe I just was, oh here it is, I was able to download a photo I took, and I think I should be able to drag it, grab it in my folder, just the name of it, and drop it in here. I still, when I drag and drop, get the little dialog box that pops up. And we're just going to leave it as it is. It says embed, and that's checked from file. And embed basically means that I'm actually putting it right into the document. And link would have been if I wanted to just link back to it in my particular file folder, and then it would always show, but it wouldn't be living in the document. It'd still be living in my folder over here. So embed is the best thing to use because we can always, we'll put it on a base layer and we can always turn that layer off. Image rendering mode, just none. Oh, there's a don't ask again. I guess I never read that. I think I'll do that. Next time I'll try it, I'll know. I'm going to say okay. But I did drag and drop it. So let me zoom out here. And there it is. Now, I wasn't paying attention to what layer I'm on, so I'm going to go over here to layers. Now, there's my image. And everything else I have is on layer 1. I'm not going to want that image on layer 1, so I'm going to go and right here, above the layer 1, click on the green plus sign with the white minus sign below it. Layer 2, I'm going to call that my photo. I'm going to put it above the current layer, so it'll go above layer 1. I'm going to add it. Now there it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this right here, the first one in my layer 1 should be my photo. Yep, turn the eye off and on, that's it. So I'm actually going to drag that and drop it over the top of the photo layer. So now it's inside the photo layer. I can turn off, I can close the layer up, layer 1 up, and I'm actually going to turn the eye off and lock it. So nothing can be done to what I already had on this, in this file drawn. And we're not even going to see it. I'm going to zoom way out and see where it is on my page. Okay. It is actually taking up my entire page area. This is my background desktop. The grid does cover everything. And so what I'm going to want to do is get rid of everything outside of here, I think. Well, I don't have to, because what I'm going to do is we're on the photo layer, and I'm going to click right on image 1. I'm going to go down to opacity, down here under the grayscale color boxes. And it's 100% opacity right now. I'm going to make that 35. I typed in 35, I'm going to hit enter. Oh my gosh, is that big on the page though? So, that looks like it is 8 inches. Obviously not the size it's supposed to be. And I am going to, I think it actually, when I cut it up, I guess oh, here it is. It is right in front of me. I don't have a ruler with me. Oh, I can, let me see if I go, you know what I can do? I'm going to go to View, Zoom, 1:1. I'm going to hold it right up to my top ruler. It is. I thought it was a ½ inch, and it is. Oh no, it's 5/6. Yeah, it's a ½ inch. Okay, so I'm going to I don't know, I think there's a lot of gray all around it. But what I want to do is find I know now why I would want to cut it down. Because look at this image. Look how much bigger it is even than the paper. Whoops. So I could just size it down here, scale it down. I'm going to hold both Shift and Control and make it smaller. Now if the background was a different color, I might want to get rid of it, I might not. Let me get this all the way over here. At least now I can reach the outside bounding box corners so I can change the size of it. If I didn't want to have all this around, all I wanted was for it to be clipped. I do believe I could clip it. But what I'm going to do is just use it the way it is. I'm going to get it and line it up here on the left side with number 1. Now notice that, let me get down here where there's no, shoot, I keep hitting the right click. I'm going to get rid of this, I guess that's a permanent line there. I want it on just a plain grid square. Now I know that my boxes are 1-inch square. So I'm going to put this on the left edge. And I'm going to have to zoom out to get the corners of it again. And I am going to hold Shift and Control again to keep it in proportion and scale it down until I know it's about 1/2 inch. Let's see if we've got 1/2 inch. I'll pull it up here to my ruler, just about. Now I can actually see my corner at the same time. Okay, so that basically is 1/2 inch. So now I can start drawing it. To figure out what blank spot on my, I think this is a wider area over here. Right there for me to work on it. Now, I'm going to want to, I think what I want to do is actually center it on a guideline that I have here, just because it'll be easier. Now, I may want to zoom it up just so I can see where I'm lining it up. I'm clicking down here to bring it in the center. I think I had my, Control Z, you know what, I think I'm leaning over my keyboard and I think I had my hand on my, I'm working on a laptop. So I think I had my hand on the pad or on a key. So here we go. I'm going to get my Z key and zoom in. Oops. Back out. And it does look like now that I've got it pretty well, there we go, centered. I don't need to, but I never know if I might want to use the guides for centering something, so, and it'll help me just know where the center is. I may not need it, but I may. So, let me go back and get the chat box back up. Yes, I could use another monitor. Oh, you want to poke me? Okay. You're not seeing? Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I forgot to put the screen on. All this time. Yes, forgot to close my folder up, and oh no, I just lost my whole, I don't know if you can still hear me or not, I just lost my whole YouTube. Let me see if I just, oh, here it is. Okay, I lost my chat box. I've got it back up. I'm sorry I forgot to put my folder down so that I can see. Okay, let me go back. Did you see anything? Here I've been doing all this talking. Okay, can you see my Inkscape now? And I bet you didn't even see me import this or drop it in, did you? Should I just start from the beginning? This was the image I imported. All right, yes, all right. I'm going to delete this. Okay. I'm going to back way out because I know it's a big photo. What I started out with was File, Import, and that's the way I've done this before. And I go to my folder, pick my folder, and click on the file to import. You can also, and this time I will promise I'll put my file back down. So here is my folder that I keep on my desktop for the design class. And down at the bottom is a JPEG image. I'm just going to click on it, regular click on it, and drag it and drop it. Did it drop? Okay, it just now popped into the box. See, just because I just dragged it on my file and dropped it. But look how huge it is. And actually there's the other, oh, I did end up with two of them. Look at what size my paper is here, and look how big the photo is. What I did is just click on the corner, hold Shift and Control, and make it way down, because in reality it's only a ½ inch. I think the other thing I could do, and let me just try it here, I've done it before, let's see if it works, is I can edit, let's see. This is something I didn't even think about using tonight. Let me see if I can just draw a square around it. Okay, I just went to my square. I'm going to draw a square around it. It doesn't have any fill or anything. And it's a real tight up at the top. Let me redraw that so I really get it all in there. Okay, now I believe that I can do one of two things. I don't think it's in there, so let's see. Object. I'm going to go to Object. Okay, I'm going to go to Path. Even though I have a square object in here, and it's an object, not a path, I think that this works on it. And I want to say, let's try exclusion. Nope. Oh, I bet I have to have them both selected, come to think of it. I have to have both the box. You know what? I'm going to put a fill in that box so we can, I'm going to draw the box around it. I'm going to fill it. Fill with color. It's not filling with color. Well, I'm going to try this out. If it doesn't work, we'll go on with the way I was doing it first. So I have that selected. If I hold Shift and select the whole image, now if I go to Path, I don't know if I can't remember which one I would use. Exclusion? No. Path, break apart? No. Actually, I've shown the technique before, and it's for cropping. Difference. And if it won't work tonight, I'm going to do what I originally did. When you couldn't see what I was doing, I'm going to hold Shift Control, grab the outside, make it down where I think it's going to end up being about a ½ inch, and put it on my page. Now do Z for my zoom key. Now you can see, if I pull it up to my ruler, oh, it needs to go a little smaller. I'm using my ruler to make this a ½ inch because I know that the real piece is a ½ inch. And that looks like it right there. Okay, so now I know the image is a ½ inch. And I don't need the inside box anymore. And I did decide to put the center of my coil and line it up with a vertical and horizontal guideline. Just in case I want to snap anything to the center, I want to have it lined up. Now, it went in on a layer. I have to go and get it. My image 3 went in right here under photo, which is nice. And let me see if yep, there it is. There's my image 3. I had named it. I'll double click on it and see the name highlighted. I'm going to call it, maybe I'll just call it coil. Coil photo. Okay, so now I have a coil photo. Now, I want to be drawing over the top of it. So I'm going to want another layer on top of it to draw. The first layer, I'm going to turn that off for a minute. What you did not see in the beginning, oh no, I think I did show you the pieces of what I drew on the page, didn't I? You could see that, I'm sure, because I did it before I imported the folder. So I'm going to ignore layer 1. The photo layer now, I want it to show. I do not want it to be that dark or it'll be hard to see the lines I'm drawing over the top of it. So I'm going down to the bottom here and changing the opacity. Oops, I can't do that, have it full screen because I can't see what you're saying in the chat box. And change the opacity down here to, I'm just going to make it 50 right now. I go anywhere from 35 to 50 depending upon how opaque I want it. So we'll leave it at 50. And this right here, that is a center point, but it's actually the rotation point for the whole entire big image. So it's not the rotation point for anything but this whole image. And then, of course, this is my paper around it. But I had moved it. You could see that before it was right about here. It's the whole image. And I'm not going to want to do anything with that, so I'm going to put it right out of the way. So here's the image. I want to diagram this. I do believe I have, this is basically going to be round circles, so I'm just going to make one that matches that center. Now, this is where you can, doing it this way, we actually have basically individual rounds. It's different than a spiral, which I would use the spiral for, but this I want it to look like it's a coil. So I'm going to start with the circle. Oh, now I'm going to get a red circle. I couldn't make it work before. And I'm going to, this is one of the reasons I like having a center point. And I can go up to this upper right-hand corner, the little half moon with the opening to the left up here in the corner that is the snap tool to make it snap to guidelines. As you can see, it's turned blue. If I click it again, it goes back to being black. It used to be that it turned gray, and it was so difficult to see if it was on and off that one of the new things they did is make it so it turns blue, so you know for sure that your snapping is on. And sometimes you don't want snapping because it won't let you put something exactly where you want to. It wants to always snap it to a guideline that is close by. So sometimes you want it on and sometimes off. I want to start at the center, so I'm going to snap it. So I know that when I get here, did you see the, let me get way in here. See how there's a little X? If I'm out here, I get a line, and now you can see the X is moving on the horizontal axis. I'm going to go right back to the center. I know I'm starting in the center, and I want to drag out from the center. Remember, if I just drag, it's starting at the left and pulling to the right. Or I could, if I pull down, the same thing. It's ending up down here, and the center is no longer on the center point I started with. And so for that, I want to get my right on the center point, and in order to pull it out evenly from the center, I'm going to hold both Shift and Control. That gives me a circle that is getting bigger from the center, and although I could make it a different shape, because I'm holding Control and Shift at the same time, it does want to go back and make a circle. Automatically pop into a circle. Now, this is also faded. I'm going to take out the fill. Notice my line is not black. And oh, I made it way bigger than the center. And I also better check and see what. I'm going to the fill and stroke menu. I have mine up here, right here. It's open. And see 0.1. What was it for millimeters? I always forget. Were we using it on just like 1? Or this says 2.5. 0.2.5. I'm not sure if maybe that's what it was. And I'm going to, it's selected, so I'm going to Shift and select black. Now, remember the opacity is down for the back. I think I have the opacity is locked on the layer there. but I should be able to get it, I would think, on my design. Oops, I'm going to close that up. Or I'll just draw with dark gray lines for now. Now, I don't quite have it centered over that center, so I'm going to hold Shift and Control again. And I think I may have to make my opacity up a little higher for the moment. Oops. Yeah, I can't change the opacity because I'm going to have to change the opacity on the layer, or I can just guess at it to see how it looks right at the moment. Let me go to the photo. Oops, coil photo. There, I'm getting the opacity up again. Does it look now like I'm getting at the size of that? It does look like I'm getting at the size of that, I think, pretty much. I'm trying to pull it to the center. Okay, so I have my first beginning. Actually, on this piece, I did use the technique of doing, I think I did 3 very small picot 3, and then I had kept the starting loop, just like the original instructions. It said, slid my shuttle through. So basically, this first one is a mock ring to start with. And now I have this square, because I forgot to, did I make my new layer? Hello, hello. There we go. You know what? I put path 9 on my photo. I don't want that. I forgot to make the layer above. So I just have to add a layer above, and I'm going to put diagram. Okay, so now I'm going to lock my coil photo too. And I'm ready now to make the next one. And what I'm going to do for this is use something called offset. And what offset does, I can make a duplicate and I can offset it a certain space away from the one I already had made. So if I get this selected, oops, did I forget to move my path 9? I did. Let's put that up on the diagram because I've got my photo locked. Okay, now I can select it. I have it selected. I'm going to do Control D for duplicate it, which puts it right on top of the other one. Now, I'm not going to click on it or anything. I'm just going to leave it. I duplicated it. I'm going to go up to Path, and down there's both an outset and an inset. We're going to do the outset. And if you look here, there's a real simple for inset and outset, a real simple key combination. It's Control plus the right parenthesis sign. So if you hold your Control down and hit on, and I'm going to do that right now, I'm going to go off of there and just hold my Control down and hit the parenthesis sign. But before hitting it, remember, the parenthesis is a capital. You have to hold Shift down. So I'm going to hold Control, then I'm going to hold Shift, and then I'm going to do the right bracket. And it didn't. Let me try that again. It's not working. has to work because I've done it so many times before. I'm going to try right where it is. I'm going to say, oh, you know what I didn't do? I used the circle tool. I didn't take it and change my object into, or my object on the path, object to path. All right, I'm going to put it back in place, just moving it back into place. Okay, and it snapped right over the old one because I have snap on. Now I'm going to try. I have it changed into a path. Oh, I didn't change the bottom one into a path. I think I have to change both of them. All right, we have to work on paths for this because offset is a path command. So now I just want the top one selected. I'm going to go path. Now hopefully this will work. Outset. There we go. Now I'm going to control. I'm going to offset it one more time because see, my next row is up here. This isn't far enough. It's offsetting it by a certain not degree is percent. And the percent, I think, is preset. And let me see my transform. Yeah, it's not telling me on, rotate. It's not telling me on here how far. But you could get it preset, and again, something I didn't think ahead of time, I didn't realize I'd have to use. What I'm going to do then instead, I got to find what my hand tool is here so I can move my screen without using the scroll bars. I'm going to try just doing path offset again. Okay, it looks like this is basically going to do it. And then, so I'm clicking twice to get it for the second round. I'm going to now duplicate that, do Control Shift right bracket. That's still not working, so I'm going to go, to path, outset. Path, outset twice. I do know that it was working the other day for me. Now that's looking pretty good for that third row. And if I do it again, Control duplicate that one, and then path offset it twice, outset. It's looking pretty good. It could be a little bigger. At this point, what I can do, at least I know that they're equidistant apart. So this part, if I make sure I select all of them at a time, so as you can see all the little selection lines I've got around here, because every one of those circles is now selected, I'm going to go Control G for group. It's one group. At this point now, I'm going to hold Shift and Control down again. Whoops. Oh, I know, it's not moving. You know why it's not moving? See how it's jumping? I want to have control over this at this point, so I'm going to go up to the right and turn off the snapping. So my snapping is now off. It's not going to try and snap to where the snap wants to go. Now I can slowly and then recenter it, but I don't have snap on. And now you can see, by doing this, I have my equidistant, my 4 rounds, and they're all equidistant apart. And there's my diagram for it. Now, I'm not sure. I believe we're going to have to put the numbers. Like I said, I've never seen the Catherine wheel at all diagrammed with numbers on it. Usually, you will diagram, if it's a ring, you would put in the center. But these are all chains. So we're going to want to put the number of stitches, and we're going to want to put in our picots. Now in this one, remember, my picots are all going straight above each other. I'm not, so I would have picots, and they're all joining round to round. So technically, I really can just draw one pen line for each of them. If I draw here, now, actually, these are on the top. It doesn't look centered. Actually, my horizontal one doesn't look centered. And it really, looks kind of weird. But it really is the picots. I didn't use the spiral because this is a coil. A spiral starts in the center, or starts at the beginning of the chain. You go around and you don't go through the loop to make a mock ring. You just go and join to the first picot, which if you're making a chain and you're doing it in a spiral, you'd want to do, your beginning loop would be your picot. For a coil, I use the beginning loop, put my shuttle through it, and close it up like a mock ring. If I'm using it for a picot, I would start with, instead of a big loop, I would put a holding device in it. And I have one of those close by. Hold on, because I'm going to show you what I use sometimes. I got two things sitting here to show you when we're done. You would put the holding device in and start with your continuous thread, but you don't need a big loop because you're going to do your first join into that loop rather than putting your shuttle through. It's a very minor difference. It doesn't show much. It can make just a little bit of difference in the center. The rest of the way out is going to look the same. So there's very little difference except for the way you start it. When you start with the mock ring, it's basically that center circle is closed. It's closed into a ring. So it would be like this. Now, it actually might come out a little bit like, shaped like a teardrop shape. You're not seeing what I'm showing? Okay, I'll show you the onion ring. Okay, and I'm not going to put, I would put in there like the number, I think on this row I used 6, and then the Catherine wheel join, and then the the join. Okay, you know what else I have to have in here? This is where this is my join. And then, and you can see the lump right there above it, which shows where my little last picot was for joining the next round. I would also need to put in, as soon as you do your join, your Catherine wheel join, or whatever join you're using, you need another picot. So when you're doing, say I'm doing this third row, I would have my picots here on it, or like if I'm, say we're on our outside one, we would have our picots sticking up. But this one, is the picot that I have in there is already joined to this final round. Because every time you do a join, you put a picot to join into on the next round. Does that make any sense? Oh no, I'm showing on Inkscape. Is everybody seeing what I'm doing? I've got the actual photo of my coil, and I'm drawing my diagram over the top of it and making it the actual size. I don't know why that looks like it's not as full. It's got a chunk out of the end of it there. I don't know why. Now it does. Okay. Because this is what I actually did. On this row, I think there were 5 stitches, and here were 6 stitches. I mostly had to add 1 extra stitch. And now I would go on with the rest of my design. I'm going to turn on, oh, I guess I gotta pull out my layers here. I've got so many things open that when I pull it out, it's awfully wide because I've got all these things open. One of the things I haven't talked about in a long time is this little guy right here, right next to the layer panel is my history undo. Now, you know how you can use, I don't know if any of you don't know what an undo panel is. Of course, if you're only going back 1 or 2, and don't we close up the center as in a mock ring too? I don't. I consider the spiral as not being a mock ring in the center, as just being a spiral that I put a join in the very beginning, in that little beginning loop that you use to start your continuous thread chain at the end. Now, I don't know if other people use the terms maybe interchangeably and it's just a different way of starting. But to me, a spiral isn't necessarily closed in the center. And I really think, especially at size 20 thread, the difference is so minimal, it might not even matter to your design. One of the things I did find was it just made a little bit of a difference having that, it didn't look like there was a break when I did it that way. But like I said, I don't think you can really see it. It's something that maybe I can, at some point, get it done up, those 2 different ways of starting. And I'll talk to Tammy next time I talk to her and ask her what her idea of the 2 is. But as far as I know, that's a difference between the 2 words. And like I said, could be totally interchangeable. So now I'm going to, the undo panel. I've opened it up, the undo history. Whoops, I didn't open it up. I closed it. I'm going to go down to the bottom here, this little right arrow, And I'm going to see if it's here. Layers, text and font, layers, objects. My history palette's not there. Let me see if I can remember where to find my history palette. Preferences. Oh, here it is. Yep, under edit, undo, redo, undo history. That's your panel. Shift Control H. Okay, this is a list. You can see it's gotten quite long of everything I've done since I opened the program. You know, I was flipping things horizontal and vertical, and all the way down here to drawing a path and moving it. Now, I could go back to a certain step. Like right here is where I did one of the outset path. If I double click on that, it would start me at this point again. It would delete everything that happened after that. And that can be a really good thing if you know that maybe the last 5 minutes you've been doing stuff and it's like, oh, this is awful. I want to go back to where I was, but when I changed right up here, where I changed the object to a path before I started outsetting, duplicating out. The rest down here, it's duplicate and outset, duplicate and outset. I could take that whole thing off right to the point where I changed my first circle, 2 circles, to paths. And especially if you're doing long, complicated things, that could really make a difference. But it is gone forever then. Once you use that, it's not, you can't go back and say, oh wait, I want to go back to where I was before, because once you actually permanently delete everything after where you double click and start from again. I'm going to go to my layers. I'm just going to turn off my photo bind. And there is my coil diagram. In your opinion, something like when you close it, you have a negative space. Yes. That's true. Yes, yes. Thank you for that, Katia. Yes, you do, and you especially get the idea of even if you can't see much of a space inside, your brain kind of does see it because it's a closed circle, and your brain is saying, that's a circle inside. And the spiral would pull it up better so you don't have any negative space. If you're working with size 20, it is a very tiny piece to work on and can be really, really fiddly. So on something like that, if you haven't done it much, you might want to try it in size 10 first, just so you get the hang of holding on to the little piece you're working on. All right, let me go back to, I don't want to be on my diagram now. I want to be on layer 1 again. Open up all of that. And see, here's my little center. This time, whoops, I'm going to zoom into both of these at once. This time I have a coil that is actually, whoops, let me group. Oh, I didn't group my picot lines on there. So I'm going to take, oops, I've got that locked, don't I? Okay. I'm going to take out my center coil and put this coil in. That is what truly in size 20 my coil looks like in there. So I'd have either very long picots if I was doing this, or make my coil bigger or whatever I felt like for the design. These are right here. I'm going to pull these up. I did do this by hand, by grouping. I made one, I made like this one, the old manual way. I duplicated it. I went up to the top here and mirrored it. I flipped it vertical and I moved it down. And because I used to have a guideline circle in the center there, I knew where to put it. And then I grouped it and did the duplicate, click a second time, get the rotation handle, and started rotating it. And every time I wanted it, wherever I wanted it to be, I hit the space bar to drop a copy. So there I would have 6 of them here, and they're not quite even because I'm not using any guides below there. Yeah, I like the spiral. I liked doing it the spiral way and liked the way it looked. I almost think you can get a rounder shape that way too, especially, that's another thing I wanted to mention. On this sample that I made, I did 3 very small picot 3 and then closed it up. And if you think 3 on one side and 3 on the other side, it almost gave me a little shuttle shape rather than a ring shape rather than a circle in the middle. That too would have affected my following coils. I think that starting with a spiral, if you do a small enough, or it could be maybe a little larger. I think there's some where when you make a ring, it almost looks like it's got a left half and a right half and makes kind of a bowed shape rather than, especially if you put a picot in the top that you're joining to. It pulls that almost, those stitches look like a teardrop-shaped mock ring instead of a rounder ring. It does look like you're, am I thinking, yeah, ring, that's right. Okay, this right here, this here, these two, those are how you diagram onion rings. Remember at the base, they can eventually look round, and I did do like, whoops, let me, get all 3 of these. I did make a little rounder one. I'm not sure if you can exactly get that shape. But this is what an onion ring looks like. And you can make it the same way, except you're going to, let me see, let me get one of the individual ones. And I'm going to turn it. So this is how an onion ring would be diagrammed. And I used the same method, and I don't think I only had to offset one time, but now if I put this over a sample, I might find that the spaces need to be wider. Oops. Uh-oh, now I can't see my center. I think that's because I got it closed up so much. I'm just going to, here we go, backspace out. And I'll show you, where's the one I put up right? There it is. Let me ungroup this. Oh, now I've got that one. Well, I'm going to pull this one back up. And I'm going to flip it around and ungroup it. Now you're going to see each of these is separate. I started with this little one. I did Control D and duplicated it. I did path, outset. I'm saying offset, it's outset. And notice how I just got the second one. I'm going to outset the second one a second time. Oh, but anyway, notice how it outsets just like the round circles did. So all I did at this point is take that outside one and move it up. And if you make another one, Control D, path, outset. Again, it centers itself, and remember, if I want to move it up and keep it exactly going straight up and not get off like this, I just want to hold down my Control key, and it's hard to make it go left and right because it only will go up and down, or, it wants to go horizontal or vertical, not any of the other angles. So you can really move it up. So there would, whoops, I moved it back down, I let go of it. That would be your onion ring right there. So are there any questions about that? The other thing I want to show you, if not, I'm going to go up there, is how I ended up making a very nice one of the blocks for block tatting, and I don't want that one at all. And I did make myself some guidelines, but you really don't need, you really could get by with only one guideline. And the only reason I would use that is if I felt I needed to really keep it straight. And I shouldn't have to. I'm going to grab my pen tool. I'm going to click. And here, notice I could put it anywhere. But if I hold, notice now how it's jumping, because I'm holding my Control key down, so I know I can get it horizontal. I'm going to click right here and go right down straight. I didn't think you'd want a space in the center of your bee head. No, you wouldn't, so I would use the spiral. Now imagine size 80. Okay, I'm going to end it right there. Now, I did just go and select these two, add up here to the left, add a note in the middle. I want to pull it straight out, so again I'm going to hold my Control. Whoops. I forgot to deselect the first two. Oops, okay. Add the node, deselect all three of them. Now select just the center one, move it out a ways, go up here and smooth it out. And notice again, I only smoothed it so I'm pulling one handle at a time. I actually want this node to have the symmetrical handles too, which is the third one from the left of these icons. Now when I pull it out, and I'm also going to hold my Control key to pull it straight up. There I get the curve at the end that I need. To go on, I'm just going to, with my selection tool, select it. I'm going to go up here and flip it horizontally. And I'm going to hold my control key and drag that. Whoops, did I forget to duplicate it? I bet I did. First I need to duplicate, Control D. Then I need to mirror it. Now you can see if I grab it and pull it straight down, I've got my exact curve on the opposite side. However, I don't want to use the top one anymore to duplicate, because if you notice what this does, because it's got the rounded cap on it, it lined it up even. If I pull out you can see the left side is totally even with the beginning right here. The right side, however, is a little bit longer. And from now on, we're going to need the ones that aren't as long as this top one to continue down. So I can just take my node tool now. I'm going to hit N on my keyboard, get my node tool, hold my control down, and move that back to match that. I also noticed that on the whole thing, I have square ends. And I really like rounded ends, so I'm going to select both of them. I'm going to go to my fill and stroke menu right here, or panel, and I'm going to go down and say cap right here in the middle. I want a rounded cap, and let me zoom in and see if you can see any difference down on this right here where they're joining. You can see a little bit of difference, and now I can see that if I pull this down just a little bit more, it really makes a nice even one. I'm going to back out. Now I got my first two. Now I take this second one and just keep doing the same thing. Control duplicate, flip it horizontally, and drag that one down. And this time, this one needs to go over, you'll see it, did I have my snapping on? It wanted to snap in there. I'm going to take, yeah, I should have, I don't know why I'm not able to move my, oh, I know why, that's a grid line. Let me put out a ruler line so you can see what I'm doing. I pulled it down and I'm going to have to move it to the right. But it's because this comes over like it does that you have to use this shape. Maybe I didn't have to cut, yeah, no, cutting it off works it right. That's right. And I could just keep doing that. Pulling it down. I think pulling to the right, maybe if I use my shift key. So now you can see how you can do it. Now, if this was going to be the end, if it was only going to be the 1, 2, 3, and back again, I would want to go in and cut off this end. Or when I do this last, if I did one more, I'd want to cut off the end on the side. And that's just similar to what we did before. And for my node, I'm going to select this one and this one, these two end ones, and just delete them. Whoops, I got one of them selected and not the other. I'm just going up here under View where the little delete. And then I would have to pull it back out. Again, whoops, I was holding my Control key and then I let go of it. So this way you get a nice, evenly beautiful. Now, one of the things sorry, typos. Whoops, it did not show in your next. The higher tats. The diagram shows the lower tats narrower. It does? I know these are farther apart than those, and I don't have a block pattern. I could, actually, I think, wherever my coil went. Oh, that's not my coil with the that I just made. Oh, you know what? It is my coil I made, but the picots are still down there. I could actually, let's go in and look at the one I made last week. I think this is my coil. Or was this my coil? My real one. If I put this up, and you can see this is a huge one. Actually, this one, this first one I made, looks like the coils are about the same amount apart. So it looks like out of size 20 thread. My distance would still, my double stitches would be the same height. So I think that looks good for the, this first one I made looks better for the size 20 thread. Chat is skipping a portion of the questions. Huh. That's weird. I've never seen that happen. Well, I'll stop talking now that I've shown that. The only thing we're going to finish up with is putting some direction lines on these. Maybe you can try the question again and see what's happening. Oh, it was on the other onion ring. Okay, so you had a question on the onion rings. Oh, it was too long. Yeah, if you put too much in the chat box, it won't post. Sometimes you have to cut it up into two different posts. Okay, on the onion ring diagram. The diagram shows the lower stitches narrow. Oh, like down there? It does. I guess the thing is that, and I think it's because an onion ring, I'll look and check again, but let me see if, I think it's diagrammed that way because it's not actually showing actual size of the stitches in it. It's using this just as a symbol for the onion ring. Yeah, when you're tatting, the stitches would actually be wider. And I think it's because when you go and do your second rows, the way you're stopping and starting down here always, the onion ring doesn't, oh, let me pull up this, whoops, this one. The onion ring doesn't actually grow much at the bottom because of the way it's made. So, an onion ring, I don't believe, I could be wrong, I don't think it's usually shown like this, you know, where the one is, maybe I need to put this one inside of that one, where it's not connected in. I think that it's usually always shown the other way because, like I said, it's not actually showing the way the onion ring itself is made and the sizes, but it's just a representation symbol of an onion ring, if that makes sense. And I will check into that too and make sure of that I've got that right. I was just going to look in the dictionary of tatting and see what it shows for an onion ring. She doesn't show a lot of diagrams, but she shows some. No, I don't, there's not a diagram in here of it, and I don't have one pulled up in front of me. It's funny how often you tat things and you look at diagrams and you use them, but you don't really pay attention to exactly how the symbols are shaped. So that's another thing. I've got two things to look into. Okay, I don't know it all. That's certainly for sure. There is a whole lot that I don't know, especially if it's nothing I've used in a diagram before. I want to show you one more thing because I do see you do use arrows in your patterns. Sometimes a big arrow to show maybe the direction of the whole thing. Or like in here, I've seen the arrows that show what direction each section goes in. And I'm going to show you this. Let me get zoomed in here. I'm going to show you on the big one. Your homework. Yes, my homework. Okay. If I wanted to put in arrows, it just helps the tatter know, oh, I'm starting from this end and not that end. We want an arrow that's going to be facing inward. So we can take, and this is going to work because I don't think I have this. Let me pull one up. Yeah, I don't have this, what do I want to say? Oh, all attached. I don't have it grouped. I'm going to work on just this one. And it's going to be interesting because it usually puts the arrows at the beginning, in the middle, or at the end. And we're going to be using our fill and stroke menu. And we're going to be going under stroke style because this is a stroke. And so I have it selected. I can drop down to, these are considered markers. You have right below dashes. We could make that dashed lines or dotted lines or whatever. They're kind of thick, so you're seeing not many spaces. You know, you could make your lines. This is how you would make other lines. And I have found that when you make a polar grid, you can go in and change some of your polar grid lines to dotted lines if you want, like every other one or something. So that's something to think about. But we want the solid line, so I'm going to put the dashes back, or dots or whatever, back to just the top one, which is your solid line. But under markers, this first one, it will put a marker at the beginning of your stroke. And if I click on it, you can see the arrows are all going to the left. So do I want that on here if this is where we're going to come in and start the block? No. I want one to go the other direction. So I would probably choose, I think this, I don't know, maybe we could actually, maybe once we have, let me try this, I'm going to do this top one. I like this arrow right here. If I select that, notice I now have an arrow at the beginning. It's going the wrong way. Let me see if it would let me go in and with my node tool, no, it's not going to let me change it. I was thinking maybe it'd let me turn it around. I do believe that we can make markers of our own too. But that's something I haven't done for quite a few years. So if I was at the beginning, I guess what I do is undo that one. I can put one in the middle. Now the middle ones and the end ones, you get an arrow going, pointing to the right. And let's see where it went. Oh, it did put it on the end. Oh, I got two of them. I don't know why it put one on there, except that it could work for, whoops, let me put that, let me use a different shaped one. And I'm going to deselect everything. Those don't work good because it doesn't show. It does at the end of that show, and you could put just a little S here for the start of the block. Or you could make your own arrow. And I'm going to have to look into more arrows. This one does actually show you that you're going this way, and then you're going to go down and around. I'm not sure why. Oh, I used a middle one. That's why it went in the middle. All right, let's back up and try. I'm going to select this again, whoops, with my selection tool. Let's see where the end one goes. And I guess that skinnier one did work better. Now this one, it's not showing it at the beginning, and I don't know why there aren't any arrows going that way, but I guess in a way it does make sense. This does at least show you that you're coming around and going that way. Now, if we're tatting, though, we're basically going right to left. Well, I guess it depends upon where the block comes off, if it's a block going sideways. So but this is how you can put arrows. So, like a lot of times, you just want to show the direction of a line. So you can actually, like, just make a I select it, I'm going to go to my node tool, add a node in. Whoops, I got to select them. Oh, I got to select the nodes. Oh, I got the wrong tool. I don't have my node tool. Select them, add one in the middle. Oops, I forgot to deselect all of them. And just select the middle one. I didn't even use the smooth, I just used the symmetrical. Now, if I can also just, I'll go back to my selection tool, my S on the keyboard, and put a marker. I know I've used arrows to the right on this one. I don't know. Maybe that's changed a little. But I guess I'll put the arrow on the end here. And there, if you just want to show, maybe on a coil, you'd want to put that on the outside of the coil just to show them that's the direction you're actually tatting. And a lot of times when you're doing turning or rotating your work and all, you might want an arrow, a curved arrow on your diagram. So that's how you add arrows. And I'm going to figure out, I think we can make our own markers. I know we can, I just don't remember how to do it because it's been over a year since I've made one. So that's it for tonight. And I hope you've learned something and play around with it. Hopefully maybe this week we'll all have a chance to. I have homework to do as well as deciding what we're going to do next week. Anything you can think of that you might want to do in Inkscape next week? We can go back to outlining things with a pen tool or trying some more making. We can try making a maybe a whole design similar to this. Do each row so we can practice each of the things we've learned. That might be a good thing. Do some medallions, or I'll start making centers for my plates. I'm talking plates like I'm going to make a whole bunch of them. Well, I'll probably end up with only 3 or 5, depending upon what size I make them. And I'm quite sure I'm going to make them different sizes. So we'll work on a big motif next week. And I still haven't talked about, well, great, I'm glad you find it interesting, and I hope that you'll be able to start using them. And we can go back to very simple things whenever you need to. And start, like on your designs, if you're having a problem, start trying working on them. Write down any problems you have or what you can't make work, and we'll do that. And again, start thinking about where you might like to be able to post homework for us all to see. Or another thing people have done is in the class, and I think Harola was one of them, they post it in their own Dropbox and share it and share it from there, or just in their Google Docs, which I think only the people then that watch our videos would be able to get to. You're welcome, everybody. You're welcome, and I'm thoroughly enjoying this too, so. And Katia, thank you for, you always have good right-on observations. And I think, I agree with you, your saying the spiral would be closer together when you tat it. Yep, I totally agree. Okay, well, then I'm going to say bye for now, everybody, and we'll see you next week.